This is Protocol 1. I'm James Neilson-Watt. If you are successful but not fulfilled, you're running industrial age software on space age hardware. It's time for an upgrade. Don't settle.
Hey everybody, I got a really interesting guest today. His name is Philippe. I'm not going to ruin his backstory for you. I'm going to let him share. Welcome to the show, Philippe.
Thank you so much. Really thrilled to be here.
Tell us about yourself. You got an interesting backstory. You got a lot going on. You've been doing a lot of different interesting things. And it's fun for me whenever I've got a guest on like you because it isn't necessarily directly connected. It's like I did all these things and now I'm doing this. And it's like, how did I get to here? So I'm hoping to unpack that today. So yeah, tell us your backstory, tell us your journey.
So I'll start with the beginning that's shaped a lot who I am today is growing up on a family farm. So out here in the eastern townships of Quebec, so eastern Canada, north of Vermont. My parents have had apple orchards for over 40 years, and I grew up on apple orchards. I had the privilege of experiencing nature, also experiencing work and family business early on. So I happen to enjoy work. So I can't say that I did not like my youth. Like some people say I hated it, like I had to work, blah, blah. I mean, of course, farm life and family business life leads to work, but I really enjoyed that. It shaped a lot who I am. And I had the privilege of playing hockey competitively, including 5 years professional. And I was fortunate enough to have parents who supported me in that. That is a huge part of who I am today, or how it shaped me with successes, challenges, but also I would say most importantly the discipline. I'm very grateful for the discipline like that I was able to learn and develop and use as any athlete really. And now I'm using that discipline for my well-being, for my fitness, for growing the business, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I would say the biggest gift and magic that hockey gave me was my wife Stacy. I actually met her through my hockey career, and her brother was my teammate in Indianapolis. He's a big guy, so it was quite a delicate situation, and it turned out to be amazing. So I was able to travel. Stacy and I lived in France for 2 years with hockey, and a year in Texas, and so I'm so grateful for that. And towards the end of the career, I didn't play very long. I only played until I was 27. My body could have definitely continued, but my interest was fading, and my interest for sustainable business was growing. Didn't know what I wanted to do, but so Stacy and I, just to connect today's business, Oneka, we went out on a random journey in out west in British Columbia, British Columbia, Canada, and we met a chemist who put us on this path. And our goal was very, very broad. We wanted to have a business that would have a positive impact on health and environment. That is really, really broad, right? There's billions of ways to do that. And we got excited about how hair care and body care products would do such a thing when they're natural. So they're better for your skin, your body, and for the water that receives it. So that's 18 years ago. And today we've grown Oneka to be a reference in good for you, natural, plant-based hair care, body care in North America. So here we are. And we met through the Tony Robbins environment, and that has been extremely valuable and beneficial for us.
Yeah, we met at the finance event, didn't we? In
That's
Idaho,
right.
which had no snow. I was very upset, by the way. I got there, because my wife's active, and I done platinum in 24. Now, and I'm coming to the event thinking I'll meet people, I'll get to go skiing all the time. And I kind of get there and I'm like, oh, where's the snow? Apparently it was a terrible season for it. But we're in Japan now and there's heaps of snow here. So having fun. When did you get into the Tony Robbins world?
We 2024. I mean, I read Awaken the Giant Within, like probably in 2010, no, 2009, 2010. I enjoyed it, but I think I was able to absorb so much, only so much, given my context back then. But 2024, Casey, my wife, had in 2023, she had been on the Time to Rise Summit, and in 2024, it comes again, and she enticed me to go, and so I did, and I was like, whoa, what is this guy? So I he really, really, really pulled me in. And then we did UPW a couple months after, and then boom, just really got involved. I'm extremely grateful to the learnings and the teaching and the community. So it's very recent, but powerful full impact.
Tony talks about state management being one of the, I feel like he said this, I don't know if he said it explicitly, like the key thing to success. Like it doesn't matter what strategies you have, if you're unable to manage your state, your emotional state, how you show up, then the ability to achieve success is extremely difficult. Right? The idea of 80-20, 80% psychology, 20% strategy. I think a lot of successful people like yourself are obviously doing that unconsciously, consciously. Tony's observed successful people and extracted what it is that they were doing. Talk to me about hockey and what it took for you to be successful, what it took for you to sort of get back up when you're losing or you're under pressure, because that must have been influential in how you then approached business and your willingness to push through, your willingness to deal with the struggles. Because people always say things like, oh, I want to start a business so I can, have more time and I can, choose my hours. And I'm like, as Dana White said, it's like, there's no choosing your hours. Like, it's Christmas. Sorry, kids. Business is melting down if dad doesn't fix it. I saw a funny meme on Instagram. It was, business has got you looking like you're in an abusive relationship because you go off and stand in random places and message or voice message, or you're at Disney World and then something's happened, so you're over here taking this call. And anyway, I digress. But yeah, talk to me about that, where with hockey, state management. And did you notice a correlation, like when you went through some Tony stuff, you went, wow, I was maybe doing that and I wasn't aware of it, or I didn't know that was there, or is this all new and you just kind of winged it through your career from a state management perspective?
That's a great question. I have a lot of perspective on my hockey career because I stopped 18 years ago, right? So I've experienced a lot since, and I've also stayed connected to the sport. I mean, I have a lot of friends who played in the NHL, and when I say I played professional, I played in the minor leagues. I didn't make it to the NHL, which is the ultimate achievement in hockey. And so I do look at how I was, and your question is, how did I manage my state? Well, I have to be honest with you that when I played, well, there's two things. Had I known what I know today when I played, I would have probably been more strategic about my mindset and my state and all that. And also, I realize, based on the last 18 years of growing as an entrepreneur, as a business guy, as a husband and a partner with my wife, how passionate I am about this life, this business, this journey. Therefore, how committed I am and how much fuel I have. I believe when I played hockey, I had a limited amount of passion. When I was young, when I was like 17, 18, I was an NHL prospect. I was like full of ego and, but underneath that, the true and deep passion was there, of course. It was there. But the perspective that I have on how much passion it takes to really make it to the top, because I mean, objectively on average, I did above average. Like hockey wise, I did break through. I did play professional. Like most kids don't even make it there, but I didn't make it to the top. And I know that. I know why. Because, and this is a story I'll share. I went to a hockey game in Anaheim in 2015, I think. And I had a buddy of mine who was playing for the Ducks back then. And they were playing against Pittsburgh, there were two top teams. And I'm sitting in the stands. And then at that point, I was still angry that I'd failed. That's the feeling I was still carrying to that day. And I had been done for almost 10 years. And I had the realization when I looked at those guys play, I realized that I did not have the level of passion that they had. Because I don't care how talented you are, to make it and stay in the NHL, you need to be committed like fucking crazy. Like any sports, right? And I realized I was honest with myself, and I actually became at peace. I said, look, I didn't have the passion that it takes, And so just to answer your question about state, for me, state, yes, it's about knowing and strategy, but it's the energy that's required for you to stay in a great state and put yourself in that state is very correlated to me as far as how passionate you are with whatever you're doing and in life in general. And so first of all, I didn't really know this knowledge about like state and visualization and all these tricks that I know today, but I also was working with a limited amount of passion. And that's what I realized today. I didn't know that back then, but I see that the very successful people, and then let me define success from my eyes. It's not just about succeeding in your field. It's about having a balance. It's about having a life, like in general, like, great relationships and great health and happiness, and that's what success means to me. But I think to achieve that sort of success, you need to be extremely passionate about what you're doing, and therefore you'll find the means and the energy and the commitment to put yourself in state, a reason, a purpose. Because otherwise, why would I put myself in state? Like, I'm happy with this. Like, this is my standard, and I suck. I'm short with my kids, but you know what? That's the way it is, right?
So for me, I find that when we, as you said, like if you don't have a purpose, as you said, you don't have a reason, there becomes a complacency. It says, well, it is what it is. I'm going to stay where I am. So this idea of changing state, because you start to you start to drop. And I think for me, that comes from a separation of, I don't have a purpose. How do I form this thought? I don't have a purpose, but I know that I'm meant for more. So I feel sort of absent from my purpose. And so I become complacent to the suffering, because otherwise I have to accept that I'm not where I want to be. And that's painful, because then it says to me, am I enough? Can I do it? How am I going to do it? And so what I did was, my mind is very focused on always on big goals and where am I going and things like that. And so what I learned through Tony was, having a big goal is good. It gives me a sense of direction. But every day I need to feel fulfilled, successful, happy, content, maybe the wrong choice of words, but content as I am, and I'm still going after that. For when I realized that for myself, I stopped being in this place of negative state, down energy, etc. Because it was a reconciling of, I can still want for big things, but my worth is not tied to the achievement of that or not. And so my purpose is presence with my family. My purpose is, how am I growing, contributing, loving, etc. Because otherwise you just start to go, why have a state? I don't have a purpose, when the reality is, from my view at least, it's like how you show up in everything. And it's ironic, because we I don't know if you learn this, but it's like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I used to go, oh yeah, bullshit. Like, what do you mean? Like, this doesn't matter. What I realized, what I think was maybe not communicated to a level that I could understand, was it's not how I do one thing is how I do everything. It's how I show up for myself, so that when I'm doing this thing, it matters to me, such that then I will then show up for the next thing, and it will matter to me over there as well. Because if I don't make my bed, as Jordan Peterson would say, if I don't take care of this, then I can't take care of that. That for me was a big change, because I had fulfillment was my reason for getting into Tony. It was like I'd been achieving things and just not feeling the juice anymore. You know what I mean? And so sort of mastering that art of fulfillment was a big journey for me. For you, transitioning from hockey, and then kind of now you're in I think you have a farm, is that right? And obviously you've got the natural, what would you call it? Is it skincare, hair care? Is it all of the above? What's the
Yeah, all personal care products, so hair, skin, body.
So how did you, I know you said you went on this journey and you went to BC and you met a chemist, and it was, and it started this thing, but what happened from sort of deciding, I'm now not a hockey guy? Was that like a decision, or was it a transition? And then you found this new thing? Was there your metaphorical desert that you had to walk through? Like, what was that like, going from hockey guy to natural product guy?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. So it was both. Well, looking back, here's the thing. So my wife and I were in France for 2 years. I played 2 years in the elite league in France, once in Angers and then the other one in Strasbourg. And then my intention was to do one last season. Okay, in England, in Europe, somewhere, hopefully a new place, so we could discover a new area. And so my intention was to do a last season. So usually you get your contracts like in the summer, or like late summer, because season starts usually end of August. So I didn't get that contract at that point, and so I knew I was going to miss the beginning of the season, but I wasn't bothered, because there's injuries, there's all sorts of stuff. And then as the fall was evolving, this is 2007. This is back in 2007. So I was training, I was preparing, and I was working with my parents at the family orchard, and training to prepare, expecting my contract. And I got really interested in about traveling, and like I could feel my heart, being really focusing on like adventure and discovery, and like starting a business. And my wife and I were talking about it. And I was scared about that, because I knew I wasn't focused on what I should be focused. I was kind of training, but through the motion. I wasn't Like, and I remember stretching. This was a pivotal moment. I remember stretching one day, and I thought to myself, I'm done. Like I'm done, meaning my heart, I'm not, this is not purposeful anymore for me. And I got really scared. It's like my heart told me, but then my head's like, well, I'm a hockey, like you're talking about identity. I mean, at that point, I'm 27 years old. I'm a hockey player. Like that's who I am. 27 is it's not old, but it's like I'm not 18. Like I identified as a hockey player all these years, so I got really scared. Not because I didn't like other things or I wasn't interested, but just because that was the beginning of a transition. And so, as it turns out, as you know, when when your heart and your emotions are focused on something, that's what you attract and get, right? So, to no surprise, I never got a contract. And it's not because I wasn't good enough, or I believe energetically I was pushing it away. And I was just dreaming about traveling and adventure and starting a business. So, long story short, we ended up waiting until the end of the possibility of contracts, January 15th, didn't get a contract. We headed out west to visit friends on Vancouver Island, and we started the business there accidentally, like totally accidentally. And you talk about transition, and for those who know, when you go from Vancouver to Vancouver Island, you have to go through a ferry. And I remember being on the ferry and looking back to the mainland, and I felt I was leaving my old life. It was a very symbolic transition, but I used that ferry ride as an hour and a half to really, like, almost, I mean, I'm not saying that when I got to Vancouver Island I was done, but like I had used that transition. It was very symbolic. I said, I'm leaving my old identity behind, and I'm sailing into the new one, which I didn't know at that moment, but it ended up being an entrepreneur, which has fueled us for, well, I say us because Stacy has that in her as well, for the last 18 years.
I was reading in your bio, and if I got this correct, you have a lot of penalty minutes um, in your hockey career. Now, I'm not a hockey guy. What I've always found interesting about hockey is that the referees let you fight, it seems. I tried to look into it. It's like it's not a rule, is it? It's like an thing, and then unspoken thing of like kind of allowed to happen because it's the culture, and then they separate you. You talked about leaving your old self behind, metaphorically. What does that look like for you? How do you explain that, say, to me, the audience, around your role in hockey? Were you a bit of an enforcer, and now you're sort of a nurturer? You're into natural products, and you've got your family, and you seem to be a very gentle guy, at least from interactions that we've had. What does that look like? What's that identity shift?
So let me clarify. Objectively, I didn't have a lot of penalty minutes. No, I had some, but so no, I was not an enforcer. I had penalty minutes, but not abnormal. I did fight several times. I did not love it. A couple times I fought because I was asked to, and I had no choice. A couple times I fought out of anger, but like I can't. Some guys were like, they really love fighting, and
Mm.
it's consensual. It's like you fucking drop the gloves, you go. If you don't want, you know what I mean. So it's like, I think. I think it has a role in the game. I think a lot of times it can keep guys honest, to not do cheap shots, because you'll have to answer to someone. But that's a whole different debate. In hockey, I really enjoyed the social part. Like I was a connector. Like I'd be the guy organizing parties. Like I know it has nothing to do with the sport, but like I was still a gathering guy. I was still like, I really enjoyed like hosting, and as I was older, and so I think that my nature was not really able to express itself fully in hockey. Although I had early, when I was young, when I was 16, I was the captain of my team, midget AAA, and like I really enjoyed my leadership there. I was just connecting. There was issues at school because like the other kids didn't really like the hockey players because we were like put on a pedestal, and I really made a big effort to I was like a DJ at lunchtime, and I was really involved in the school, and I think my intention there was really to make links to that we would be uh, connecting with the other kids without on a even level. So I was a gatherer. I was definitely a gatherer that was not always able to express that desire in As I moved around a lot, I mean, you look at my career, I mean, 2 years in Vermont, 1 year for Team Canada, 2 years at Calgary, and then bounce around. Like I did, I don't know, 12 teams in 15 years, so that's a lot of movement. The link, like hockey, I mean, of course, persistence, because I think I failed as much as I succeeded in my hockey career, and that's a beautiful journey, because in life, I mean, if if you can't deal with disappointment or setbacks or failures, you're fucked. Because then hockey really tooled me. It really equipped me to and all the failures and setbacks and frustrations to handle life in a way that I just don't fucking beat myself over shit. Like, I mean, I'm not saying like nothing bothers me, but I certainly don't expect everything to go, easy and smooth all the time. So yeah. So I didn't really answer your
Nothing's
question, like, because I wasn't in for, but
Yeah, no, I might have misread something in your bio, but I think in general, sports, especially more of an aggressive sport like hockey, rugby, those sorts of ones, I think all sport carries a level of aggression in it, because aggression isn't necessarily bad. Aggression is intensity towards an outcome. It's just where you direct that. Like, what is the outcome? Is it to hurt somebody? When I used to play sports, I was very angry. My dad left when I was young. I didn't have a good relationship with my mother. I felt quite disconnected. And so for me, it was a way of showing that I was worthy, that I was someone. And then I ended up getting reinforced by the wrong people. So I was reinforced for my aggression. So it became natural. But I then learned to kind of use that into business and things. And as I get older, I'm more aware of that. Aggression is an important part of success. It doesn't have to be a violent thing. It's a typically masculine trait, I think. I think all people have aggression, but the most aggressive people are always men. That's why most people in prison are men, because it's misused. And I'm acutely aware of this raising two sons. So growing up without a father and not having really any positive male influence, I didn't know how I was going to be a father to boys. I'm very good with women. It's very easy to make friends with women and things for me, because I grew up around them a lot. But understanding that with my boys has been interesting. I heard somebody say that young men have two dogs that they need to get a control of. And these dogs are on the leash when they're young. It's sexuality and aggression. And they need to learn how to control them, because if they don't, when the dogs are off the leash as they go into adulthood, it can become a big problem for them. I think in all sports, there's that element of aggression, like I said, that you can bring into business. And obviously, you will have done that successfully. Hence why you're successful, because it requires us to push and to drive through our problems. You said, things affect you, but you don't let them affect you in the same way. And I think that too many people, at least people that I've spoken to and I've experienced myself, we expect there to be no problems. We expect there to go through life and it should just sort of work out. Like, there's this, intellectually we know that that's not true, but somewhere inside we're afraid. We think, okay, it should just work out. So we play small, but then we end up with problems anyway. And so something that I sort of reconciled more recently is there's always problems. You just have to pick how much of the upside you want. How good do you want things to be? Because if you're going after big things or things that you consider good that you want, then there's going to be larger problems than if you do nothing. And then your problem is you don't achieve, you don't support, you don't contribute, you don't grow, and you still get sick. Your wife still leaves you or whatever. You still have. So it's like these things exist, I think, from God to give us things to overcome, lessons to learn, that we wouldn't have the upside if we didn't have the down, so to speak. So let me ask you, when you're looking at your business, right? You're successful, it's big, you've been doing it for a long time. Most businesses don't last very long, and even if they do, they aren't profitable. What's been some of the biggest problems that you faced that afterwards you realized were a gift in some capacity, that maybe changed your perspective on problems or struggles? Like, there's moments for me where I'm like, man, I learned from that. And now I'm much faster at finding the lesson. But before, it used to take, days, weeks, years. What's something for you where it was like a big problem and you went, shit? And then after, maybe it took some time, but you look back and you go, man, that was an opportunity. That was a thing that led to something. That was something I learned from that. What's something for you?
what comes to mind is 2021 so we subcontract our production. We have a contract manufacturer who makes our products. And back in 2021, our former subcontractor produced 3 months worth of products it smelled like chlorine. It was a bad product. We had to recall, and it really put our production. From there, things went downhill, and so it took us about a year to get back into normal production. We had to change manufacturer. We ended up into a lawsuit with them, which we ended up winning. We ended up settling out at court, but all said and done, this entire process took 3 years.
Mhm.
And it took a lot of time. As anybody who's been in a legal battle, like it's so unfucking productive, because you're just you're fighting, like, but at the end of the day, and this is even before we settled out of court, with pocketing money, we realized how, and just to be fair, one of our mentors at that moment said to us, "You guys are going to go bankrupt, period. You're going to go bankrupt. Like, I mean, your momentum was just killed. Like, you fucking recalled products. It cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. We had to borrow over $500,000 just to continue. And so if we don't do that, then we go bankrupt." So that he was right. For us, it wasn't an option. So we were in the process of building our house. We stopped that. We took the cash down, put it in the business, borrow money. Long story short, it was a gift, because before that, we were enjoying a lot of organic growth, and we never really been caring about profitability. We were profitable, but like fucking joke, like, 50 grand, 100 grand, like nothing that would actually allow us to really feed the business. We were not rigorous managers. We were loosey goosey. And what that challenge did for us is it brought us to the ground. Like, it brought us to a point where we couldn't borrow money anymore. We had no more money ourselves. So the only way forward was profitability, like real profitability. And it really, and this is like, we're now like 13 years into the business. It's not like we just started. We made it all the way there with just a lot of enthusiasm and energy, and sure, a bit of profit. We were lucky. We were, and so at that moment, we couldn't continue being loose managers. Long story short, this was a 3-year challenge that brought us to the ground. And the ultimate gift was that we became serious business people. We're like, okay, let's get out of this through profitability, not borrowing more. It forced us to really take our entrepreneurship to another level, where profitability is not a fun thing or a cool thing. It's an absolute must. And I'm going to link, what, and you've heard this so many times, and this blew me away when I heard Tony say this, but that the only problem there is people expecting that there shouldn't be any problems. And then to develop the habit that when you're within a challenge or a problem, to ask, where's the gift in this? And I realized that we'd done that without knowing this teaching from Tony, but learning this teaching later made so much sense. Because I'm not capable to look at a situation and be a victim of it. I hated that process. I fucking hated that process. My wife and I hated it. It was, we dealt with with dishonest situations, and it was very frustrating. But in the end, it made us better people. We are stronger because of it. We are healthier because of it. We are better managers because we were a better business because of it. And it brought us into like a much better setup for production. So many gifts, but I'm sure some people went through some legal battles. It's very energy consuming. And in the end, I'll be honest with you, in the end, we were, 3/4 of the money went to lawyers. So it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Lawyers
we
win
walked out with,
when it goes to court. Yeah.
the biggest winners were the lawyers. Like, we ended up getting a chunk, but 3/4 went to them. So, but we chose to, and you talk about state and the meaning, what the meaning you give to things. We made a conscious decision that we were going to tell a story of victory, because we didn't want to be repeating over and over again how the fucking lawyers got all the money. That's a fact I'm sharing, but the story we continue to carry now is, hey, we got out of it as winners financially, but mostly winners of the growth that allowed us to go through. So that it's a long answer to your question, but that's what came to mind, because we could have chosen to focus on and still be victims of it today, but it allowed us to grow and really break through another level of growth and depth of learning. Yeah.
Something that really hits for me is a lot of us play the game as if we're going to get out the other side in life. Like, I'm going to hang on to stuff and I'm going to win, or I'm going to battle, and I'm going to avoid problems, or, and it's like, if we don't know what's going to happen next, let's say, and I know that I'm not getting out, like I know intellectually that we're all going to pass on, then at what point do we emotionally reconcile and say, therefore, I must make the most out of it, whatever my situation is, because that is all that I'm going to get, and I can't restart the video game and learn from that and go and do something better and make progress, like go back in time, and then I have to restart the video game metaphorically right now with the learnings that I've got, so that the next point forward I'm learning. And Tony talks about normal problems, abnormal problems, and pathologic problems. We all think that there should be no problems, but there should be normal problems. It's expected to have abnormal problems because we're not, there's things that we're going to not learn from the first time, right? But pathologic problems are the ones that really get us, in that we take nothing from the lesson of the problem, so it becomes abnormal. For example, a business this is what Delcy and I do, we're in business development, and the businesses that come to us and they're not profitable, let's say, or they're struggling with operations and things, and they've been in business for like a couple of years, 5 years, and I'm like, that's not a normal problem. Your first year, you don't know what you're doing, normal. By year 5, if you still don't have SOPs and systems, there's an abnormal or a pathologic problem going on there in the leader, because you're not learning from the normal going abnormal to now it's metastasized and it's a pathologic problem. And I think it's because, like you said, we're avoidant of it because we feel like things should be good, and we don't realize that it's up to us to create the good. It's up to us to see all things as part of the experience that shapes us and becomes our story, so that we can then tell the story. Like, I know it sounds super, whatever, but I say it to my kids all the time. And I've been, not to necessarily go down this route, but I've been wrestling myself with like faith and God and our lives and all these sorts of things. And I think there's a season in your life where you start to sort of do that, especially you've got kids, right? I've got kids. And there's this season you go through it and you go, what does this mean? And what is, and I think about it as, if I was to look at my children, I know that they're going to have problems, right? I created them knowing that they're going to have issues. And I know that there's going to be good that comes from that. And there's going to be happiness and there's going to be sadness. And when I'm coaching them, and you're probably the same as me, when I'm coaching them through understanding that things aren't going to go the way you want them to go, but it's what you can take from that situation. I'm coaching them on being grateful. I'm coaching them on realizing that things will be amazing, and then you'll have an issue, and issues don't last forever, and the night disappears and it becomes the daytime again, and that is all part of the experience. So how can we be aware of it, anticipate it, grateful for it, and not just look for the good? And so I think when we become adults, we now don't have a parent to be guiding us on doing this. And that for me is you trying to figure out God or whatever. It's like, what if I was to look at myself like that as a child and say, hey, James, shit's not always going to go your way. What are you going to learn from this? And what are you going to take from this experience? And I think we all get to a point where we realize, man, I wish I had have known this earlier. And that's where we start to want to contribute, like for me, this podcast and whatnot. What can I contribute from the learnings? But I think there's 2 parts to that I want to get across. The first is, yes, now we need to turn around and give that to either community, our children, etc. On goes the cycle of knowledge and how we progress as a species. And 2, it's to tell that story to ourselves and to say, from this point on, things will be different because I've had that lesson. And this is a normal problem to expect because I didn't possess the knowledge before. And so even a pathologic problem is still a normal problem, because it's a problem because you didn't know, or you didn't accept, or you didn't whatever that allowed it to be pathologic. And that's normal because it's life. I think we need to prioritize the pathologic problems because they are the ones that cause the most issues for us. But for me, even to call them pathologic is really just a distinction of priority, because they're still a normal problem. Because there are people waking up in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and going, shit, that's what that means. I should do something different with this information. And so I like to ask my guests around their problems, because you're right. Like there's so many, and for me now, it's like, man, there's so many opportunities in things that happen. Something happened yesterday what would have just messed me up for weeks has allowed me to be in it for a moment and use all the training that I've learned and all the experience to go, wow, I'm feeling these things. Wow, my mind is going this place. This lack of habit has contributed to this feeling so that I wasn't ready for the problem. I need to get back into my training so that I can be ready to deal with the struggle. You did sports. You don't play sports to get fit. You get fit to play sports. We're in life. You don't get fit from life. You get fit for life. And that means, as a child learning from stuff, and then hopefully not stopping once we hit adulthood. Most of us teenagers, we suddenly go, oh, mum and dad aren't telling us anymore. So, I'm going to stop learning from How does that look now in terms of operationalizing your business? I think for me, people that I talk to like yourself who get to a point and it's like the universe is pushing and squeezing and you're not learning, and then it pops and you go, oh shit, and then you do something different. I think underpinning that is sort of like a denial of reality that I need to operationalize my business. Because for me, at least, it was, if I do that, it accepts that I maybe don't know what I'm doing because I don't know how. It also means maybe it isn't going as well as I would like, and I'm afraid to do that. But it also is one of like, if I do this and it becomes successful, what does that mean for my story, who I have around me, how they see me? Because I am like this, and the thermostat's going up, and I want to pull it back down to stay where I am. What do you see in that for you as to why you hadn't done that before and you had to wait until it popped to start fixing those things?
It's a great question. What comes to mind for me is the how we have build our team. So because we've got 18 years behind us, most of it was done by ourselves or with a really small team, mostly of like people just helping out, meaning no real delegated or leveraged leadership. 2025 was the year where we attempted to hire a director of sales and marketing, which didn't work out. We're very proud of the fact that we ended it after 3 months. But what we didn't learn was how the leverage from that person had to be a must. And if it had to be a must, we would have asked different questions and we would have caught different things, which we did in a short term, in an amount of time. But so 2025 was learning from those mistakes. Our intention was to build a team, like a real strong team where people are stronger than us and we can elevate to another level. But the reality is we didn't succeed at doing that. So 2026 is going to take two, but with the learnings from last year. And we actually have somebody starting on Monday, a director of operations, which we're very much in need of. But it's the first person that comes here with formal authority, meaning that Stacy and I, as founders, literally empowered, like and gave. It's the first time we're doing this, and that's what we haven't learned. We haven't learned to date that, because strong people won't be around us if we're not really empowering them. At the end of the day, it's like they're going to go somewhere where they can really have something that they can control and own and be accountable for. So what we hadn't learned yet was really, it's one thing to talk about it, it's one thing to intend it, but when it comes down to it, do we keep the control or do we leverage it? And we believe that we're making a significant step for our business with this guy coming, where he's like formally empowered and expected. So I hope it answers your question, but like it's, I guess what I got from your question was like, what are things that, so last year was a big failure. I mean, we had big growth goals that didn't work out. And just this guy that we hired, a senior guy that we thought was going to transform our business and didn't work out, but it's not his fault. It's us who we weren't clear. I mean, we would have seen that he wasn't going to work out right in the interviews had we been really, really fucking clear about that growth and that structure being a must. We were just joking,
A lack of clarity is, I think, the cause of everybody's problems. Almost, I feel like I can say that just like straight up. Like, if you're not clear on what you want from your health, you're not going to do the things that Like you're going to wake up and I'm like, why am I fat? It's like, well, because you were not clear on what you needed to do, what you wanted, and therefore found what you needed to do so that when you woke up, you were like, I've got a six pack. And if you, if it's like, why am I not fit? It's like, well, because you did not set a clear thing of like, I want to be fit. And then you, like, things take time, and the clock only starts once you decide on what you want, and therefore you progress down a path to get it. And I think, especially when a business is working and it's like, it's good, we tend to forget, because where we are now from what we set like at the start, that's what I found. It's like I don't know, I wasn't clear from the start, so it got to a point where it just met my internal level of what I thought was really good, and then I'm kind of just like, it grew or whatever, but I kind of stayed around there. Tony talks about the thermostat, right? It's like the set temperature. If it goes too cold, it kicks on. If it goes too hot, it pulls you down. And so instead of having a plan and being like, this is the target, it was just happening. And I got somewhere. I'm like, I grew up poor. Like, this is great. I've got a nice car and I've got a nice, whatever. And we lose out on potential, positives, but also, if we circle back to problems, potential good problems. Like we're launching LearnSpark, which is a homeschooling app, and I built it for our family, and I was going to bootstrap it. If it made sense, people will use it, and then if people are paying for it, maybe I'll go get some more customers, and I'll just see what happens. And then I was at Date with Destiny, and I met some people there, some friends from the Platinum Group, and I was asking them questions about like raising capital, and I had been afraid of raising capital. Because for me, you give me $1 million or whatever, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Like, the business for me is only worth something if it was making money. So I needed to make $1 and then spend $1, make $2 and then spend it, and like just grow like this. And so this idea of like, you give me money and I'm going to grow something terrified me, because I'm someone who wants to make sure that you get value. And not only do you 100% get your money back, because thank God you gave, help me with that, but you get a return for that money. And so I'm very conscious of that. But I realized at Date with Destiny that that's a problem that I need to, get over. That's a mountain that I need to climb, is that the thing that I'm afraid of, what's his name? He wrote the book, Obstacle is the Way. And it's like that point of resistance is the thing that I need to go towards, because the way that I've been doing everything has been avoidance of real business, which is raise funds, spend money effectively, not just spend money because you're cash flowing so you can kind of just waste it because you're going to make some more later anyway, type of bootstrapping business. But here is money, make a fucking plan, give me my money back and some, because I'm buying part of your company. And so through that journey, we're now in a situation where we're looking to raise $5 million. I've got people that are very interested in backing this. I've got a great advisory team. I'm building out these pitch decks, and I'm researching this information, total addressable market, and all these concepts are very new to me. And it could all very well be terrifying if I didn't hold the perspective that I'm content and happy and loved as I am. But as I set a goal, it gives me another purpose, which is to mount the obstacles and to get over them and under them and through them. And who am I going to become in the journey of the problem? Which is I think very hard to do, because it requires you to face parts of yourself and to be okay with discomfort, which most of us are not, which is why we avoid those things. But then we look at people who have the thing we want and we go, you're lucky. And it's like bullshit. I always say that everything is simple. Everything's simple. You want to make $1 million? It's simple. You want to get a six pack? It's simple. You want to have a good marriage? It's simple. But it's not easy, because the hard part of it is becoming the person that would find it simple. For example, it's simple to not be an alcoholic. Just don't drink alcohol. But what's hard, and for those people who are already getting flared up in the comments, half my family are or were alcoholics. This is what I grew up at. This is my lineage. They've struggled with that. I've been around that for most of my life. And so for me, when I say that, this is me also who had struggles with alcohol. Not being an alcoholic is simple. Don't drink alcohol. What is hard is being the person who can do that, right? Having a good marriage is simple. Don't cheat, don't abuse, be kind, be empathetic, understand them, meet their needs. But doing that is hard if you are not the person that would find it simple. And so for me, my thesis, I think, for this episode is finding strength in overcoming obstacles and realizing that there is, it's there to give you a chance. And there's this other concept that I really like. It's like circle of influence. Everything you want is on the outside of your circle of influence. Otherwise, you'd already have it. So your ability to stretch your circle to grab that thing is what life's about. And if there is an obstacle there, you've got to grab the necessary skills or whatever to be able to overcome that. And so you can choose not to, but in doing so, you miss out on so much because it's not about that problem. It's about the skills that you acquired or the perspective that you had to have or the connections you had to make that got you through that problem. But because it's a circle of influence, you end up circling more stuff. Like, I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I've overcome problem A, I've woken up with a whole new perspective on B, C, D, E, or suddenly I overcome problem A, and then I suddenly realize that B, C, D, E is easier, or whatever. Like, it's not just like in isolation, I solve this problem and it's like done, and then it's the next one. It's more like, what are the big ones that if I get those, like these little ones just kind of start to go away. So I don't know where I'm going with this at this point, but if we circle back to operationalizing a business, which I think is something tangible for most people listening, it's about saying, here is the goal over here, not whatever feels successful compared to my previous perspective. I grew up poor, so a bit of money feels successful. And so when I'm doing LearnSpark, I'm like putting numbers in. I'm like, okay, well, we want to do a Series A, a capital raise, we're seed round. We're going to do a Series A. What does that mean? What's the valuation going to be? What do I have to do to prove that? How much do I want to get then? And I'm like, gosh, I'm now setting these targets that feel crazy. So when I hit $1 million, I'm not going to go, that's cool. When I hit 3, I'm not going to go, that's really cool. Like, I'm happy. I'm going to go, not there yet, as Kobe Bryant said, right? Job's not done, because I'm clear. I have clarity at the end. And so if you want to have a good business, those who are listening, operationalize, because you're operationalizing to reach a goal that's bigger than where you are. If you're in a relationship, if you want to have a good relationship, look at what you're doing in that, operationalize, if you will, because you're clear on, I want to be happy, passionate, loving at 85. So what do I got to do now so that gets achieved? I want my kids to be bringing me their children and loving having me around. I'm involved in their life, and I get to look after the grandkids, and we have amazing Christmases, when I'm 85. So what do I got to do now with my kids? Because just because they're happy today, it's like, that's irrelevant. It's like, are we continually doing things so that at 85 or whatever, your business, it's not just make $1 million. It's like going for $100 million exit, so that you don't settle at a place in the middle that feels good compared to beliefs and a frame that you had from before.
I actually want to hitchhike on your idea, is that I love the theme of like embracing the discomfort of the problem or the challenge or whatever, like as opposed to resisting it, because there's so much magic in that embracing. And also, just to add to the context that I was describing earlier about our failure to surround ourselves by really strong people, and I want to link it to clarity. And as a result, Tony's environment has been so good for us, and it has really put light on the gap between where we want to be and where we are. And then and we got really clear about that gap, we realized that we had maxed out our ability to grow. Just her and I, like, meaning we've had a team. It's not like we don't have a team, but to really have like really strong people in place, we didn't have that. We didn't attract that. We didn't create that. We didn't realize that this was the way forward. Like, and so that clarity we got forced us to say, well, look, the way forward from here will depend on the strength of our team. We've maxed out. I mean, you're never maxed out, because we can always become more and learn more. But the clarity that was so strong forced us to say, okay, we need to really hire a strong team. This was no longer like an interesting idea. It was a must.
And people think that they can just hire an expensive person or, an ex whatever person from some company and expect it to work. I find that funny, because I don't know if you've seen this, the McDonald's CEO eating the hamburger that's been going around the internet. And for me, it really shows me that the disconnect. It's like he's eating the hamburger, but the comments and everything, it's really, he's just disconnected from reality of the consumer. And I think this is a great example of the season that your business is in and who you have to operate the thing is really dependent on how progressed it is and what they actually have to do. Because too many people just think, well, I must just hire, if I just hire somebody who's expensive and they must be good and then they can just take over things and they can do it. But the truth is that you in your business, you must have built the systems that they can come and operate. You must have led the team so that someone else can come in behind you to take it over. You must be bringing the vision friend of mine, Simon Baird at Platt as well, he ran Culture Kings. He exited his company for 600 million. There's many stories of him, and he shares this on his social media. So if those listening, go and check him out, where he was DJing or pretending to DJ in his clothing store, watching what people were doing and what they were buying and what they put back and things like that. And he was bringing the energy to onboard people and get the team excited and how to sell a hat and how to upsell the next thing, because it's not enough to just have a person and go, okay, you're the sales manager, do the thing. It's how are you bringing energy to those people to then trickle that energy down, and how are you giving the people in your team the chance to succeed. Because too many of us hire people and just say, you solve the problem. And the way that we teach it is profit process people. Most people get profitable and then they hire people, and then people create problems because the people are not operating a process. They're just there because you are delegating responsibility because you don't want to do it. You don't want to learn it, right? I've worked so hard. I just need to hire someone. We've got money. And then what happens is that starts to eat away at the profit because things get too bloated. This person has ideas. They're not being led from the vision. They're not being led from a perspective of understanding. They're just managing. It's like managers manage. And so what do? They want to build a team of people. And so then you have an inflated team to do not much. You hire an executive, and their job is to just kind of oversee. And so they oversee. But then you're paying them a bunch of money and things aren't getting done. And it's like, what season is your business in? What does it really need? And for at least from my experience, low to mid 7 figures, it's still, if you're the founder and you're leading it and you're running it, you got to make sure that everyone is clear on what their role is, what result they're responsible for, who they feed that to, how does this work together, how does their values sit in the company against everyone else's value, because then it is an organization, an organism, people working together for an outcome. But if people aren't clear on that, like, it's a shit show. I see that all the time. And the biggest problem is businesses that are good because they have a good offer in a good market with good timing. And the founder says, I'm good at business. And it's like, maybe you've just got a good offer in a good market with good timing, and it's not as representative of your skills in the business, but more representative of the market you're in, the timing that you're in. So if people are starting AI businesses right now that, like, AI services for businesses, for example, everyone wants that. So you're probably not as good as you think you are because it's inflated by the fact that everyone wants it. So you're like, oh my God, they want my product, it's amazing. No, your product's probably crap, but people don't care because they're uneducated. And then naturally it starts to, people get familiar and it's like, oh, actually there's differences between who's actually good and who's not. And then you see those people disappear. A few years ago, it was coaching businesses and agencies and whatever, at least in my space. So point of the story being, you've got to have mastered the thing and brought the person in behind you. And when you are bringing that person on, where it is something that you're hiring above you, it's sharing the vision and the outcome and the clarity so that that human has a chance. A great example of this is AI. Like, people are there's this funny video I watched. It was this older Indian couple and they're messaging ChatGPT and they're like, I want to be rich. What do I got to do to be rich? And then it was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, too hard, simple, easy. And people are using this technology to absolve themselves of thought and responsibility. It's like, make me an essay. That's not a good one. Make it better. And they're not clear. And so the technology cannot produce the result they actually want. And so people say to me, oh, these AI, it's a fad, it's crap, it's not any good. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm making ridiculous things with this technology. But because the input is poor, the output is poor. Trash in, trash out. Guess what happens with people on your team? Trash in, trash out. Poor input to the team member, poor output from the team member. You can't just bring a person in to solve a problem. It doesn't work like that. You can't bring a technology in. It doesn't work like that. You've got to be that person ready to do what it takes, and then you're building the people behind you. How are you using AI in your business? Are you looking at starting to optimize things? Like, we've really been pushing hard on bringing AI in. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, great question. I owe Tony's environment 100% of my AI drive, my understanding of how critical the usage of AI is becoming. So I use AI personally every day for like a thinking partner. Like, I share my issues, I share my challenges. And so, like, I combine, I'll share a bit of what I'm doing and what we're trying to do as a team, but I combine Keith Cunningham's thinking time. So I think of a question, like, I spend my time thinking about a question, and then I take time prompting on that question in the context of having built a clone. So, like, the AI knows who I am, what I'm trying to do, our business, this and that. So, and that has been extraordinary. I'm pretty persistent with, like, if I'm not happy with the answer, I just keep playing and keep playing. So that has elevated my level of clarity. And this may sound weird, but after 18 years, in the last 3 months, I have challenged what I thought our business was in a way that I never have before. So through these conversations, so it has provided like huge amounts of clarity in terms of, like, who are we? What's our position? What are we unique? What are we really about? Like, what are we really about? Not, the this and the that, and the plastic savings and the organic agriculture. Like, what are we really doing? And so tremendous clarity from that, and from that daily process. And as a team, we've had really recurring challenges with our ERP. We have an ERP that we spent $500,000 on in the last 5 years. It's not working. And I'm actually right now considering using AI to create a custom operating system where AI makes the links between different softwares.
Do it. I've realized, like, there is no need for most software, and so many software are dead. So many roles in businesses are dead. They just haven't realized it yet. They are stage 4 and it's over. But they just haven't got there yet, because the how do I put it? There's two forces that I'm observing. One is that every business needs to be AI based, and from an AI centric perspective. The Nvidia CEO just said it recently. And two is the practical nature of the business that you're in, which is that you shouldn't be building big AI things. You should instead be looking at everything that you're doing from the ground up and going, how can AI be involved in this process? Or how can automation be involved in this process? So that you begin to just peel the layers of the onion back, because they're both true. But you're not going to start a new business from scratch to replace your current one. You've still got the onion. So for those starting a new business, it's like, okay, what are we trying to achieve, and what has to happen along the way, and then where can AI be a part of that, so that we're AI centric, so that I'm not hiring people and then replacing them later. I just never hired them. In an existing business, which is how we're doing it, we're looking at the processes where there is a human involved and they're just following an SOP. And we're like, Lego pieces in that chain, can we just put as an automation or put as an AI or etc.? And we just start to build them out. So we've got things like, instead of sales managers reviewing every single call, we take exactly how we do call reviews, and we then put all calls from the sales team through an AI to output feedback. And then we get an AI to aggregate the feedback to provide coaching to the sales rep. And then we just have the manager confirm that that's good and ensure that the rep is doing it. So the manager is now going from listening to every call, making notes, etc., to reviewing the notes that have been provided and ensuring the rep is implementing it. The second phase of that is we're going to build a platform that allows the rep to be given the notes, and then they have to accept it, and then that goes back into the system, so that the next call that's reviewed, the system checks whether or not they didn't do the thing they were told not to do. And if they continue to not do it, then it's escalated to the manager, who now has a human conversation with them and says, hey, you're not doing the things you're supposed to do. And now we're coaching them on mindset and blah, 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 or firing them and hiring them. So the manager is really now actually the people manager, because the practical parts AI can handle. AI can do the reviews. AI can do the feedback and the coaching and the numbers and analysis to tell us as leadership, is things doing what they're supposed to do? Now, some people are building like AI voice sales things. My opinion is that it's not there yet, A, in natural conversation, but B, because humans aren't ready to have those conversations with AI. They're still like, this is a robot. Like, I'll give you an example. When you're talking to ChatGPT, have you ever, I'm going to sound horrible here. Have you ever like sworn at it, yelled at it, told it it's an idiot? What are you doing? I do it all the time, because I get a better result from it, because I know that it's not real. So if an AI is calling me to try and sell me something, I'm just going to be like, get to the fucking point, like, because I'm not treating it like a human. Whereas a human, I'm going to care about that person. I'm going to listen to them, and I'm going to be influenced by them, right? Because they're a human being. So people aren't ready, in my opinion, for that yet. And so if you're going to have to pretend that it's a person, which is not okay. Or you're going to have to say you're an AI, and they're just going to go like this. Now, some people get great results. This is my opinion. So for us, we're eliminating all of the stuff that humans, you cannot distinguish if it's a human or not. If you're dealing with chat, I don't want to talk to a person in a chat. I want it to be AI. When I ring the bank, I don't want to talk to a person. That bank person is useless. I want to talk to an AI, right? But in other things, we're not there yet. So for us, it's just looking at what everyone's doing and just start building AI into it. And then if it comes to a point where it's like, oh, your ops assistant is twiddling their thumbs, It's like maybe you don't need them. Maybe you invent a new role for them, which I don't recommend. Maybe you look at consolidating, maybe you move them to somewhere else. But businesses are just going to be shedding people. And I think the biggest thing is just not hiring them. Like the number of people that we have not hired because we have AI powered people now is insane. Like my right hand guy builds apps for me and automations and technology and all kinds of amazing stuff. He's mostly self trained through AI and then guided with me through the projects that I get him to do. He then learns from doing those things. And so now he's operating at such a high level because he's got the technology. Now you imagine somebody who has to do calculations. One person's doing it with an abacus or whatever, and another person is doing it with AI or a calculator. It's like they're both doing the same work but producing much more result. So they are worth more to the company, even if they're inherently not proportionally more valuable. Like most cases, when an employee can produce more for the company, they're more valuable to the company. But with technology, it means that they can produce more, but they aren't more valuable to the company proportionally because anyone can operate the system. And so there's this weird dynamic that's I envision changing with people. But the point of my story being, look at your business and go, what things can I just start to edge out? Like, whenever a message comes in about something, a human has to check it and then go and do something. Why can't we just, it comes in and then Claude figures out what it is and then tells the right person or goes and does that thing? What if it could just like update Notion with the thing? Or what if it could just send an email? Right? And these questions allow you to go, what would have to happen for that to be true? And what tools are available for me to do that? An amazing example of this is using 11 Labs to do AI voice. So you can train it to sound like you. And what we're doing is we take a concept and we get it to produce a slideshow. And then we get it to produce script for each of the slides, like a voiceover. Then we get AI to do the voiceover. And then all we do is just stitch it all together. And so now we have a training video, which sounds like me, but it is not me because it's all AI generated, which means my assistant, I can say, I need a training on this, this, and this. And then they can go and make the training, which is insane, which saves me so much time. And now I'm building it so that I don't have to get them to do that because I've realized that there is APIs that will stitch videos together for me. And so I'm like, oh, cool. Human doesn't need to do that anymore. Yeah. Anyone listening, just look at it as like layers of the onion. What can I just start to peel back rather than I need an open claw Jarvis that's going to run my world and build everything? It's like, no. People are building so much dumb shit. Just start peeling layers back of what you've got so you have greater efficiency and ultimately less headaches. Like people cause the most problems in a business because they don't follow process. They're emotional. Their boyfriend breaks up with them. Their kid's sick. It's like, how can we stabilize the business a bit more by using technology, which is more reliable so that the people can be more empowered to produce more and we can have leaner teams on businesses rather than hiring people for the sake of hiring them and then dealing with all the headaches of that.
I love it. I love what you're sharing. And it's a question like I often, and Dan Martell, who speaks a lot with Tony Robbins, often says, and like that, or it's who I learned it from, but like use AI to learn about AI, right? So I often ask it like, what's the low hanging fruits? What should we be thinking about? Where are our opportunities to leverage AI to save time? Reduce redundancy and this and that. And so that's where I was mentioning this thing about our ERP. Our ERP is supposed to be the centralized system, and we've got like we've got side systems because we can't rely. We haven't been able to rely on it. And I'm like, what a fucking waste of time. Like today I was talking with one of our employees who manually enters our B2C orders in our freaking ERP because it doesn't automate. I'm just like, this is completely insane. In the age of AI, I'm like, we're doing this today. So I'm very
really
much
quickly,
with
you can already replace that now. Claude can do that. OpenClaw can do that. There's a few tools that will use your computer for you as like a mouse and act as a mouse and keyboard. They can use your browser. So really start to look into some of those things because a human doing that, they're following an SOP. If this, then that. If order says this, go do this. They're not intelligently, and even if there's an element of intelligence of interpretation, they're still following a rule set because I can't walk in and do it. So they've been trained on something. That training is all that you need to give to the AI. And then you need to guide it and just have a human in the loop, like checkbox first, and then like set it up so that it says, I want to do this. And then you look at it and you're like, no, that's dumb. And then you tell it and then it fixes it. And then next time it's accurate. And then you go, cool, you can do it. And then it says, I want to do this. And you go, cool, you can do it. And so the human goes from doing it to just going, yep, that's correct. No, that's not correct. Fix it. Boom, 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 until the human's not needed anymore. You can take the human out of the loop and the AI can just do the thing. So that's one way, like right now, that you could do it. The other is APIs. And the third is just building a solution for that aspect of it. So if your tool has an API, you could build a software that connects to the API that becomes a bridge so that it just bridges in the information or whatever through something you build in Lovable or whatever. But yeah, there's so many things you can do. I've really realized that it's about the questions you can ask. So I'm teaching my kids this, like they're learning math and whatever, but they're not learning it to ever do it. They're learning it to be able to think through problems, ask better questions, be curious, because the world for them is going to be so strange from my perspective. They will in 20 years, when my kid is 27, it's going to be like, yeah, I don't even know. So the way that I see it is, how can they be really good with people and how can they be really good at asking questions? Because I don't think that AI is going to be this existential threat. I think that it's going to force us to be people and decide things, because decide why. It's relative to what people want. So AI is always just going to be the puppet, ensuring that I get what I want. And so it's going to be about creating experiences for people, because at the end of the day, humans have needs, as Tony talks about, 6 human needs. And so we're going to need to meet those needs. It's just going to change around the vehicles that we use to do it. But AI is just going to be there there used to be a dude who cleaned up horse shit on the road or whatever. Like, that job doesn't exist. There used to be a dude who had to stable the horses, and then there's a stable fixing guy, and you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that we just don't think about that existed. But to them, it was an existential crisis of like, oh my God. But to us, it's like, well, why would you have ever done that? Because most jobs seem to be created to serve jobs and industries that exist because of limitations of how we do stuff. Like a video editor, done. That job is over. Movie directors, in the way that they sit and record and pick scenes, done. It's going to be a dude in a basement prompting, making movies. You're going to have the skill of knowing what humans want to make a movie that they will watch. But the way we do it has changed. I've spent hundreds of hours learning Photoshop to make stupid composition pictures of turning myself into a vampire or whatever when I was young. Like, just making silly photos. And it was my hobby. And now I can immediately do it like this with a prompt. And so for me, all the value is gone. The skill's gone. It's irrelevant now. What's better is understanding how to create the thing to create the human experience, or the emotion, like give the humans an experience. And I realized this the other day when I was my kids, I said, hey, watch this. And I took a photo of them and I turned my kids into a villager from Minecraft. And it was just like on Gemini. I just took a photo, I said, make my kid a villager from Minecraft. And in that moment, I went, wow, the real art here is going to be the people. I was trying to make my kids laugh. So to do that, I needed to understand my kids. And then I needed to know how to manipulate the tool, sure, but it's so basic, I can just explain it like a child. My kids could do it to themselves. Really, what's going to be left is the experiences that we create for other people. And so in that moment, I was like, man, I need to double down on this with my kids. It's like, really get good at people. Everyone's going into this online AI world and disconnecting from people. And I'm like, my kids are going to be savages, because they're going to understand people and they're going to know how to ask the right questions and think about things. So when everyone realizes, oh shit, we need to come back to the real world, my kids are already going to be there, because they never left. They just understood the technology was a tool. It's not the purpose. The purpose is people. The tool is just there. The people could be your customer, your client, your staff. How can AI, how can you serve them with it? And so for us, I looked at the sales manager. I'm like, how can I make his life easier? Why would I want my sales manager's life easier? I'm paying him. Because then he can do other stuff that can be more helpful to the business. He can go from just babysitting people and checking transcripts to being someone that goes and generates business, or really nurtures the people, or he can have more time to build our sales team pipeline. Like, there's layers to this. It doesn't have to be this or that. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I'm actually taking notes. Yeah, that's very insightful. I love how you look at it with kids, because Stacey and our kids have been homeschooled for 4 years. They're in school now. It's a tiny little village school here, but we've struggled with like technology and like the devices and that, like how to make it empowering. But yeah, for our obsession with them being people, but then it seems that the technology is inevitable, but then to teach them to use technology to help people, but yeah, learn the skills of being great with people. Struggle with knowing how to use technology for them. And as you're speaking, like I'm realizing my 7-year-old just goes on her computer, totally navigates. It's like, geez, this is like mind blowing, and she just learned from watching us, So but what I really connect is just for our kids to be good with people, to figure out people, to read people, because that's a savage skill. Like you got that, in the age where a lot of people will lose that because they're going to be, technology isn't the tool. The purpose is people, but I wrote that down. It really resonates with me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because things are going so fast. Like when OpenClaw, everyone was talking about OpenClaw and, autonomous AIs that can control your computer. I was slow to get into it because I've got real stuff going on, businesses and family and travel. But then as I started to look at it and get into it a little bit, I was like, I should probably not even bother because technology is moving so fast that tomorrow there's going to be a better solution. I recently set it up and it was a giant pain in the ass. And now I've kind of got it working. But in the same time, literally in the same like couple week period, you've got Claude Cowork, you've got Perplexity's My Computer or whatever. Meta obviously picked up Manus, and now they've got, I don't know what they're calling their one, but I've now got it on my computer and it can do stuff on my computer. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, I didn't really need to worry about being behind because you're behind the moment you start on one path. Like if I'm like, oh, I'm going to learn Claude, I'm already behind because XAI is going to come in with something else or Gemini or whatever. Like, and I realized I've just got to, I don't need to be that frontline nerd because I don't have a course to sell you on AI. So instead, I just need to use stuff and be okay with jumping to the next piece of technology when it's better for my use case and not being attached to anything. Because I see it right now as like everything's fighting and we're just going to end up with a giant absorption that happens and very specific use case based stuff because everyone's fighting for the best general purpose LLM and it's not working. So they're already starting to move towards like ChatGPT is like your mum's friend who's super politically correct and, and then you've got like hardcore coding with Claude or whatever. And so for me, I'm just like watching it. I'm just doing things. I'm just switching from one thing to another. And I'm looking at how can I use this, not how do I understand all of this stuff that is moving so fast that anybody who tells you that they know doesn't know, because even the people making this shit don't know how it works. Like, do you understand that? The people making the shit don't know how it does what it does. The guy from Anthropic, Claude, he's like, I think he said recently, I don't know if it's alive. He's like, I don't know. It could be. He doesn't know if it's hit the AGI point. Like we're gonna look back and go, yeah, probably like 2028 was when it became alive. But we didn't know until 2035 because we didn't know how to know and it didn't tell us. You know what I mean? So it's going to be, the next 10 years is going to be so strange. I'm not even focused on trying to figure things out. I'm just focused on how am I using these things to make my life better? How am I not obsessing about making everything? Because, for example, I meet a lot of people, but I'm terrible with remembering stuff. Delsey's, my wife's the one who like remembers birthdays and like sends messages and stuff like that. I won't see you for a year and then I'll see you and I'll be like, dude, what's up? Like we saw each other yesterday. That's just how my brain works. And whereas she's keeping in touch with people. And I'm like, I need an app that I can just like have everything in it and I know everything about them and it's constantly researching them on the internet. So I'm always aware of what they've been up to so that when I connect with them, like I can actually love on this person. And then I was like, man, why do that? Because probably, and already there's new stuff and, OpenClaw and whatever. It's like, man, I just need to chill out. And instead just go, what problem am I actually solving? And I think that's always been the case in life. Like, what's the actual problem that I'm solving right now? But I think with AI technology, it's just made it more apparent that you could solve everything. Whereas at least before, you couldn't solve everything. You had to pick something and stick with it for 10 years. These days, you literally can solve everything. And it's only going to get worse. And so it's not about what do I want? It's what actually matters in this moment in time because I don't need to worry about that because in 6 months, 6 days, 6 minutes, there'll be something new that already solves that problem. And there's going to be an absolute collapse of software and everything. It's just going to be, hey, do this. And then the thing just does it. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, and when I've got a robot, flipping Optimus, Tesla, I'm like, hey, go get me some burgers. Like, it's just going to go down the road and get me burgers. I want a house that's going to go and build me a house. It's going to get really, really weird. So just focus on what problem matters to you right now that you want to focus on fixing and ignore everything else because you're just going to do your head in with possibilities. I think that's my thesis for AI at the moment. That's what I'm doing.
That's amazing.
Well, this has been amazing, Philippe. I appreciate you coming on. I think we covered a lot of broad topics and it's been very valuable. Is there anything that you'd love to share with our audience, something that they should go and check out about you or find out more about you?
Well, you're welcome to check out our website, onekaelements.com. ONEKA elements.com. What I'd love to share is something we didn't talk at all is it's just daily practices. And what I want to share is my most impactful daily practice, and it's the ice bath. We talked about getting in state and this and like I played hockey, which is very intense, and I wasn't doing this back then. But today, for the sake of like being more and having access to more energy, I do things daily, many things, but one of them is the ice bath. And I would say at this point, I do 3 minutes every single day. And at this point, it's the most impactful thing I do because it's a victory every day. I need to overcome the I mean, I don't, I love when I walk out of it, but going in every fucking day, I mean, there's times where, I'm in Canada, like it's minus 20 outside Celsius, and I go out and, it requires a decision. And I've done this for years. And to this day, it's always, 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 always hard. I don't know if it resonates with anyone. It could not. It doesn't really matter. What I'm sharing this is like for me, you talk about state, this fucking puts me in state. And that starts my day in a way that is really powerful.
The ice bath for me is, I don't do it enough, but it's psychological more than anything else. It's that I can do this proof. Because so many people are like, oh, it's too cold. Oh, I'm not going to do that. It hurts. It's 1 minute. It's 3 minutes. You're not going to die. It's for me, that's the primal challenge of, do you have control over your body, or are you a victim to it, to your mind? Because it's your mind, it's not your body. Your body's like, I'm fine. Your mind is saying, I'm not okay, which is why you want to get out. Because there's a difference between actually injuring yourself and not. But the brain is not distinguishing between the two. And so, no, I agree. I think we all need to be doing that more. I'm in Japan. It's cold outside. I should just go and stand outside half naked and pour water on myself or something. I've got to figure out how to get an ice bath going. But no, I recommend everybody does that. So yes, definitely everyone should check out your brand, or make sure to put that in the show notes. I need to get a protocol for you on how you do your ice bath and how you think about it. I think that'd be great to put into the community. And Philippe, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This has been amazing. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Privilege.
That's this week's Protocol 1. If you want to know exactly where you stand across all 6 vectors, take the free assessment at 6vectorassessment.com. It takes 5 minutes. The truth takes less. Don't settle.